I see a lot of y'all be talking about Blu-ray, saying if Errol Spence got with Blu-ray, you know, he would look a lot different. He would be much stronger and all this other stuff. And you know what? I don't disagree with you guys. A strength and conditioning coach is important in combat sports. Whether Derrick James and Errol Spence think so, obviously they don't. But y'all keep talking about it and why these guys is not together and whatever. And Blu-ray comes out and said that there's no beef, but he don't know why Errol Spence ain't working with him and this, that, and the third. And y'all keep talking about Blu-ray. He need Blu-ray, 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 Blu-ray. All right, well, tell him to go ahead and get Blu-ray. But the problem is they ain't linking up, and you keep asking why. Listen, Blu-ray says he don't know what's going on, and I call cap. He know exactly why Errol Spence don't bring him into camp no more. He know exactly why. And for what my inside intel has told me about the situation, it's Blu-ray's mouth. He knows why. Blu-ray got a diarrhea mouth. He talks too much. He reveals stuff that Errol Spence necessarily don't want revealed. He can't have him up in there and camping all close to him and yet have somebody online trigger Blu-ray, then he go running off at the mouth and start talking this in his defense of Errol Spence. Because if you ask me, he a little bit too passionate about Errol Spence. It's a little suspect. I'm just saying. You know, and he gets to talking all this stuff and he be saying a whole bunch of stuff that Errol Spence don't want out there. At the end of the day, it's Blu-ray's mouth. That's Errol Spence's problem. He knows that. He knows that. Now, on the other end, now, this is me just using common sense and deductive reasoning. When it comes to Blu-ray and Derrick James, they can't coexist. And I'm going to tell you why. Once again, we're going to use our common sense and deductive reasons and what we know about Derrick James. Since Derrick James has only ever talked about Errol Spence's power, his power, his power, his power, even Errol Spence talk about his power and who's the hardest to get hit by and all this other stuff, well, that creates a conflict of interest for Derrick James. Because Blu-ray bringing a strength and conditioning guy was starting to get the shine for Errol Spence's, peep this, strength. You see where I'm going with it? Blu-ray was getting the credit for that. So, this is the problem. If Derrick James only talked about Errol Spence's strength, and Errol and power, and Errol Spence got a strength and conditioning coach that people obviously could tell was contributing to his power and what everything was going on, what's left for Derrick James to take claim? I'm going to put it like this. If all Derrick James talked about was Errol Spence breaking bones, well, who do you give credit to for that? Blu-ray or Derrick James? It's automatically going to go to Blu-ray. And since Derrick James has never talked about anything else like skills, Blu-ray is impeding on his shine. And as you can tell, Derrick James got an ego. That's why he ain't got a team over there right now. Because truthfully, he need a team with all the people that he got around him now. He needs a team. But see, you can't have Errol Spence doing all this stuff and Blu-ray taking the credit, because then as Derrick James, as a trainer, what can I say that I brought to the table that I gave him? Because all we ever talk about is power. He's stopping dudes. He breaking bones. We break guys down. We break guys out. What does all that stuff do with? Strength, power, and conditioning. All the things that Blu-ray specializes in. So if you giving him props for his conditioning and his power and his explosiveness, you automatically got to get that to the strength and conditioning coach. Now, when it comes to boxing skills and stuff like that, you're going to contribute that to the boxing coach. But since Derrick James don't never talk about that, his claim to fame is the same thing that Blu-ray actually does as a profession. And in this little time, Blu-ray name was enough to ring around everybody's ears till we know that he's the reason, or part of the reason, why Errol Spence was so strong. That takes away from Derrick James. So now we're going to go into the rumors of Derrick James not liking Blu-ray. I know you heard it too. Derrick James didn't like Blu-ray doing certain stuff with Errol Spence. Once again, this was just up in the air. This was just hearsay. But now that we put it together, can't you see it? Can't you see it? You can't have Blu-ray and Derrick James together. Because somebody's going to have to take the credit of Mr. Bonebreaker. And Derrick can't have that. So Blu-ray got to go. And he run his mouth? He got to go. And the other thing that I think about Errol Spence, and I've been peeping this for some time, I think Errol Spence is cheap, to be honest with you. I think a lot of stuff he don't do because he's cheap. He don't want to pay for it. You know what I'm saying? He just now getting a nutrition, like you said before, I ain't got no nutritionist. I ain't got no strength and conditioning coach. I get my stuff out the mud. Why? People who get it out the mud, they get it out the mud because that's all they got. So they start from the mud, but you got access to things. So you can have a strength and conditioning coach. You can have a nutritionist. You could have been had all these things. You had the money for it. Why wasn't they paying for it? Is the real question. So to me, I just think Errol Spence is on the cheap side. Derrick James got an ego, and Blu-ray run his mouth. That's basically what it is. You know? Especially if Errol Spence is saying, yeah, I was stronger with him. If you were stronger with him, then why you ain't going back to him? But he's saying that there ain't no beef and there ain't no problem. Yeah, it is a problem. Your mouth and Derrick James' ego. Therefore, Blu-ray ain't there. Tell me that don't make sense to you. Tell me it don't. Now, the first part I know for sure. The second part is just me seeing what I'm seeing. But I know that's accurate because both y'all can't take credit for no bone breaking. Only one person can. Now, Derrick supposed to be on the skill end. You supposed to be on the mechanical power, you know what I'm saying, side of things. But Derrick James is dipping over into his pool because the skill set he is not added to. He ain't really gave him a skill set. He gave him a bulldozing ass style. So I get it, Blu-ray, this, that, the third. But when it comes down to the suit, this is why you're not seeing what you're seeing. And even if they was cool and he didn't run his mouth like that, Derrick James still have a problem with his ass. Because he can't have him be taking all Derrick James credit. You know he got an ego. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm out.